my number one, the most impactful individual in my career. And I get really emotional when I think about her. She was actually assigned to me because I was working on my project, and um, our executive realized that I needed some support. And she told her, "You must make her successful." And she has, at many times, could have said, "Okay, I'm done with you. You're successful enough." And she continues to support me. And so having people like that in your corner who all they want to do is see your success is vital, I think, to people's
That
success.
makes me want to cry a little
hmm
bit,
hmm
even from here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. Hello, and welcome to Coaching Conversations, the podcast where we highlight influential individuals making waves in coaching, business, and beyond. I'm Coach Ellen Mai, and today we have a truly inspiring episode. We'll be diving into the remarkable career and contributions of Renee Roberts-Turner, a leader whose passion for nursing, education, and quality healthcare have left an indelible mark on the industry. Renee Roberts-Turner is a powerhouse in the healthcare field, currently serving as one of the executive directors of nursing at Children's National Hospital in Washington. But her journey is much more than just a title. Over the years, she's evolved into a visionary leader, educator, and mentor who advocates for innovation and continuous improvement in healthcare systems. Renee's contributions haven't gone unnoticed. Over the years, she's received numerous accolades for her work, including awards for leadership excellence and contributions to nursing education. She's not afraid to tackle the tough challenges. Whether it's advocating for better nurse-to-patient ratios, improved working conditions for staff, or integrating technology in a way that benefits both patients and providers. Renee is a shining example of how leadership education and compassion can intersect to create lasting change in the healthcare field. Her journey is an inspiration to all who aspire to make a difference, not just in their profession, but in the lives of others. She continues to push boundaries and set new standards for what it means to be a great leader. In addition to her work within healthcare, we'll be discussing her book, The Diamond Model, a framework for professional excellence, what being a Black woman in leadership means for her, Hair for You, a new initiative she masterminded, as well as her new made-to-measure suit company. In today's podcast, I'll be talking to Renee about her journey, her achievements, her highs and her lows, and her hopes for the future. Welcome, Renee. I am so excited to today's podcast. So, I think the best place to begin, I guess, is for you to tell us, a little bit about you. So, I've obviously done the introduction, but I want to know a little bit more about the real Renee, let's say.
The real Renee. So I would say the real Renee is a Black woman who truly loves her family, who truly loves herself, which is really important, and also loves leadership. I am a passionate individual around leadership, and I think my love for it started very early on because I feel like I've always just been a natural leader. I take charge of everything, but in sports and in programs and in projects, I've learned the power of leading, and I've also learned the power of being a team member. And so I think that that's just become a part of who I am. And so I think that's just a little bit about myself. I'm pretty complicated though. So that's just a little intro.
Hey, amazing. Well, hopefully we get to delve into the different levels of Renee today. So, on this podcast, I discuss leadership with a lot of people, and leadership means different things to different people. To some people, it means having a vision. What exactly does being a leader mean to you?
I think one of the key concepts or definitions I think about when I think about leaders is um, leaders lead with intent and they lead by example. I think over and over again, you see people that are put into positions and they do what they want to do and maybe not what needs to be done, or they don't realize that when you're in these positions that people are watching and seeing and replicating what you're doing. And so I think that one of the key, I guess, concepts or pieces of a true leader, when I think about leadership, is to demonstrate it, to show it. And so, they talk about our leaders, are individuals born leaders? Are they to become leaders? I think it's both. And that's not one or the other. It's like, how they say it's kind of a mix. I think people have some innate skills and then they grow as these leaders. But again, I think that it's something that you demonstrate it and you show up every day as it, because you know that people are looking at you as such. And that's really, to me, without that, I don't think you can call yourself a leader if you don't see your impact.
So you went into nursing at what age?
Oh boy. Oh gosh. How old was I? About 22, maybe? Yeah, about 22.
Okay. And did you go into nursing with a view that you knew that you wanted to make a difference in people's lives, or what was there?
Girl, no, 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 no. So even how I got into nursing is complicated. I actually wanted to be a doctor. I always wanted to be a physician. I finished my bachelor's degree in biology, and I was at a crossroads. I was very concerned. I grew up with a lot of learning disabilities. It was hard for me to study, hard for me to grasp concepts. I struggled through my bachelor's program. And I really didn't have the faith that I could even pass the MCAT. So I didn't even take it. I immediately decided I was either going to be a nurse or I was going to work in a lab. And I talked to my mentor at the time in college, and he said, "Do you want to sit behind a stethoscope or a microscope all day, or do you want to talk to people?" And I was like, "Oh, I want to talk to people." And that's how I made the decision to be a nurse. It wasn't that I had these dreams of caring for people. It was that I was scared to take the MCAT. And so I was like, what's plan B? What I will say though is that becoming a nurse has really it changed who I was. I think if I had become a physician, I don't think I would understand and have had the opportunity to really truly find my love. You know what I mean? Like I love leadership, and I know and I see it, and I don't think I would have had that opportunity. But that's been my trajectory. I became a nurse, and then I fell in and got into leadership, and this is where I'm going to stay forever. So yeah.
Wow, gosh, thank you for sharing that story. That's amazing. So, I'm going to give some statistics now, if that's okay as well, because in today's news story today, that the uptake of people going into nursing is down 21% in the UK. And I presume it's fairly similar in the US as well. And 36% of nurse managers only stay in the role for 1 to 2 years. How have you lasted so long, Renee?
I think, again, I think those statistics align with where we are in healthcare and what we've seen with the pandemic and some of the image of nursing. And I think what we don't show enough is the numerous opportunities there are within the profession of nursing to do so many different things. If you can do it outside of nursing, you can do it inside of nursing. And I think that's what has kept me in this profession for so long, is the opportunity to do things and see things differently. And so I've been able to really feed the things that I'm passionate about within nursing. One example, and I know we're going to talk about this, but it segues perfectly into if you can't tell, I love all things aesthetically beautiful. That's something that I just love. And one of my favorite things to do is anything and learn about anything hair. And so within our nursing profession, we have a huge opportunity to provide hair care for our patients. It's part of our practice. And so I was able to align this love of something I think is so important and meaningful to me in terms of my culture with my profession of nursing, and received a grant from the American Nurses Association to do education program around hair care, and then also establish a standard of care around hair assessment for nursing. And so I think that what has kept me within my profession, is knowing that there's opportunities to see things differently and to align it to my profession.
Makes me think here about what you're saying is that people come up with ideas. People come up with ideas all the time. But how do you have the drive, Renee, to push them through like you've done? Because I presume that this concept, this hair for you, has not been easy to put together. So how did you go about doing it?
It's funny you asked that question because I think as I was creating the application, I kept saying, this is so soft. Like when you think about people going into hospitals, they're coming into hospitals because they need care. They need life altering, life saving measures done, right? And when you think about hair, that's really soft. But what I've learned is you want to surround yourself with people that understand you and know you and maybe have somewhat similar or different visions or values in you. And so I had a group of people that I was working with, and I kept coming and like, I don't know, if this is going to work. And they'd be like, yes, this is needed. This is needed. I think I have that both professionally and personally, people that believe in me, people that I can bounce ideas off of and people that just say go. And so I think without that, you second guess yourself. I think that's definitely what happened to me with medical school. I second guessed myself, and I at that time I didn't talk to anybody about it. I just was in my own head. But maybe if I had, things might have been different. But so I think that you need to surround yourself with people call these groups of people different things. I call them the people I care about, the people that care about me. And I have those again personally and professionally, and asking in and tuning in and checking with them on a regular basis as I'm pushing my work forward. They can sometimes help you. I was just talking to one of my mentors the other day, and she was like, Renee, wait a minute, you're doing too much. And I was like, no, I'm not. You don't know what you're talking about. 2 days later, I thought about her words again, and she's right. I need to figure out. I need to focus at this point. I'm doing a lot, and is it all going to meet my goals and what I'm trying to do? Maybe not. And so I need to refocus. So having those people in your corner available to you is really important.
So, having a mentor has been important throughout your career, has it? Since you started on your journey?
And I will say I didn't always have one. It's funny. My number one, the most impactful individual in my career. And I get really emotional. I think about her. She was actually assigned to me because I was working on my project, and um, our executive realized that I needed some support, and she told her, "You must make her successful." And she has, at many times, could have said, "Okay, I'm done with you. You're successful enough," and she continues to support me. And so having people like that in your corner who all they want to do is see your success is vital, I think, to people's success.
That makes me want to cry a little bit, even from here. Wow. So, everything that you're working on, and we talked about this before, there's an underlying
Hmm. Hmm.
undercurrent, isn't there? That confidence and doing things with purpose has to be at the root of everything that you do. Tell, tell me a bit more about that and where that comes from.
Absolutely. So I think let's start with intent. So I So everything I do is like a little complicated. So when I was working on my master's degree, I couldn't decide if I wanted to get a master's in nursing education or a master in nursing leadership. And so I finally decided I was gonna get a master's in education. Long story short. And what that taught me by having an education degree is you always have to start with your objective. Like, what are you trying to get the learner to learn? And so I take that and I put that in everything I do. So even if I'm starting a project, like what is the intent of my project? And then also, how does that align with what it is I'm trying to do in the end? And then if I can make it also fit with something that I love, even better, because now I'm going to do it with passion and I'm going to do it with intent. And even if I'm tired, I'm still going to do it. So I try to make sure that whatever I'm doing aligns back with what I know are my values and what's important to me, and also what I love to do. Um, So that's one strategy. So around intent. And then I think what was the other word you used? Intention and confidence. 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 Yes, yes, yes. So confidence, I don't know where the confidence comes from. I feel like sometimes someone asked me this yesterday, like, how do you just keep going? And I was like, you just do it. In the end, I feel like we sometimes stifle ourselves and we don't think big enough. And I have always been a big thinker. Like I'll say something like, "We're gonna do this," and my husband's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna write it down. We're gonna do it." And then all of a sudden, things start to align, and now we've done that. And so I think when you should never put too many constraints around what it is you want to do or what you see for your future. And I think that when you start to see those things come to fruition, it automatically gives you confidence, automatically, right? Like this is something really small. So back in 2008, 2018, I said to my husband, I want a pool in our backyard. I want this pool. We're going to call it the Turner pool. And I remember I put it on my phone and I was on a trip with one of my physician colleagues and he looked at my phone. He was like, what is that? I was like, this is the pool. This is the Turner pool. It's going to happen. Sure enough, it wasn't the exact pool I wanted, but I got my pool. And it was about a year and a half later. And it was because I was very specific. I had it on it was my screensaver. And my husband's like, we're not getting a pool. Yeah, we got that pool. Yeah. So I think it's all about making a vision, setting it up for yourself, and then being intentional in terms of your steps towards that.
Interestingly, I watched a video the other day. A woman was saying, "Don't say out loud what you want, because if you say out loud what you want, people will hold it against you, or if it doesn't happen, then you'll feel disappointed." That's kind of the complete opposite of what you're saying, though, isn't it? That saying things out loud is a much better way to make things happen.
I mean it's worked for me. I even write things down. Like I write down my goals every year. I write down professional and personal goals. This year I had way too many goals. And even if I don't make, I don't meet all of those goals. What if I met 50%? And again, everything I'm doing is with intention when you write them down. I will say this. I think one piece of that comment that I would take away is be careful who you share your dreams with, right? You can't share them with everyone. I think that there are some people that I would never tell what I'm trying to do. I would never share because they may not have my best interests in heart. They may not wish me good, and they could even sabotage some of the things I'm trying to do. So I think you have to be careful of who you share, your goals with, but I think you definitely need to write them down and put it out there in the universe. Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. So you said as well, I'm quoting you here, I think it's important that we define ourselves, that we know who we are and that we're authentically ourselves. People will try and put you in a box, try and tell you who you are, or even predict what you'll do.
Yeah. Um, so first of all, my mom, I grew up with a single mom. She raised me and my brother. We grew up in Europe, and she used to always tell us, you can change your mind whatever you want, and you're the best thing ever. So that was my context for life. Like I'm the best thing ever and I can do whatever I want. And so I think when people say this is what you should do or this is what you're going to do, even if that's what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something different. Now, that's a hard way to go through life, right? Because you're constantly trying to prove somebody wrong. But I also think that when people start to do that and you start to just go down that path, you really are minimizing what you could do. And so um, I've been very careful about trying to make sure I don't allow people to put me in a box. It could be said that I'm a nurse that just does magnet or I'm a nurse that just does quality. That's not who I am. I will define I'm a nurse that does whatever I say I'm going to do, right? And so I think I will define who I am. And I think we have to be comfortable pushing back and proving that we can do much more than what people see. Yeah.
How do you prioritize these values in your everyday life then, Renee, when you've got such a busy schedule and you've told me what time you get up in the morning? Ah!
Yeah. Um, I will say this. I don't think I do the best job at it. I don't think I spend as much time with my family as I should. I don't think I, there's I could always be better at that. I was talking to one of my colleagues the other day, and my nephew had been spending a couple weekends with us, and he said, he called his dad. He was like, "Listen, Auntie Renee and Uncle Louis, they're always on their computers. They're always working. I'm gonna work hard like them." And my brother called me. He was like, "Now you got my son brainwashed. He has to work hard." I'm like, "Well, okay, there's a balance. Clearly, me and my husband are on the total opposite side of this because we're always working." But my son said something similar recently, and I said to myself, I just need to be careful about making sure I'm giving him time as well. So I think that I'm so driven and I know what I want and I know what it's going to take that I have to be intentional about stepping back and giving myself a moment to just chill and spend some time with the people that are really important. So I'm not good at it. Trust me. I'm not. I'm not good at it.
So, in what ways do you practice self care then, and how does that influence your intention?
Okay. So I have a she shack. It's a room in my house that I created many years ago that has, I get up in the morning. Yeah, I get up in the morning, I get like, wash, do all the things in the bathroom. And then I go in the she shack and it has all my shoes, has all my accessories, has all my hair stuff, nail stuff, has a massage chair in there. On the weekends, I'll sit in there and do my nails or whatever. um, I do take that time for myself in the morning. And so I do that every day for myself. And it's not a lot of time. It's enough for me to get myself together. I have coffee in there if I want it. All the things that I might want, all the things are in that room. Um, I felt that that was important for me to have a space that was just mine. And so that's one way that I do that. I think I have a long drive to work. And so I spend a lot of time in self reflection then as well. And then I always try to get to work early so that I have some time just to be by myself. So in the morning is really my time. That's why I'm up so early to your comment. I'm up between 3 and 4 because no one else is up. And I take that time just to be within myself. And that's really it. I don't exercise, which I'm not promoting by any means. We know all the benefits of exercise, but I just don't like to sweat. That's just who I am. And I don't do any yoga or anything like that, but I do spend a lot of time reflecting, self reflection, and just taking care of myself, some time with Renee.
Wow, that sounds amazing in itself, though, as well. I imagine that being around almost before the world wakes up is kind of a precious time.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. It's amazing what you can get done while people are sleeping. And even when it comes to work, I've found that if I can get in here and get some work done before people come in, it's amazing. Yeah.
So, how do you prioritise your tasks then, Renee, and to manage your time effectively then?
Hmm. My prioritize my tasks. Well, it all kind of meshes in together. You know what I mean? I think if I can't be too structured when it comes to all um the things I want to do. I do try to map out, like if there's some big projects that I need to have complete by deadlines, I do try to map those out. Deadlines work really well for me. Every month, what I've been doing lately is I'll set goals for myself for the month. So if there's like a presentation I need to prepare for, or a report that's due, or with one of my businesses, I'll try to make sure I have some deliverables for the month, and then try to set some deadlines. So then every week I'm looking at that. um, I found that to be very helpful because I can't, if I look at it, over the year or over the 6 months, there's no way I can manage it, but manage it month by month and then trying to plan it out as well. So that's one way that I found to be helpful to manage everything.
And Renee, do you celebrate the wins? Because you mentioned before that, if you get 50% of what you've done, then it's a good thing. Because I feel like a lot of people in today's society think that unless they tick everything off their to do list, it's a failure. that nothing's a success unless you do everything that you've set out to do. What do you think?
I'm not as good at celebrating. So no, I mean, I acknowledge it and I pat myself on the back, but it's not like I have a big party for every win, but I do recognize it. And then, but I'm very hard on myself. I mean, I think that that's just part of who I am. I think I critique everything, and I've learned this about myself probably a couple of years ago that I lead or I start from a place of negativity, which is again acknowledging that's just who I am. Eventually, I get to the good stuff, you know what I mean? But I always start from there, and I'm always looking at life in that half glass, half empty standpoint. Um, so I think I could definitely do a better job celebrating, but I do acknowledge that I did it, and then I move on to the next thing. I'm like, okay, so what's next? What's next? Um, and again, I think that's just my drive. I think that's just who I am. But I need some help with that. If you have any tips you can give me, I'll take them.
Where do you think that glass half empty comes from? Is it the fight and the challenge that comes out of it that you are drawn to?
No, I think it comes from culturally. I think being a Black woman, I think a lot of my environment and things around me are negative. I think just who I am and how I grew up. You know how that is when you as a kid, and people don't like to talk about it, but all the stuff that happened to us as kids and picked on and all that has also created that. And I'm very defensive. And again, I think it's just who I've had to be to survive in this world. So I think I'm coming from that just culturally, who Renee Roberts-Turner is, just in general. That's just who I am. Thank goodness I can see the light and I can see it and I can transition pretty quickly, but I just have to be aware that that's just who I am, you know? I take it for what it is. And actually I think at some point it was a protection type thing. Like it's a protective for myself. I have to I'm very cautious to make sure, but you can't be too cautious because you'll miss out. You can't be too negative because you'll miss out, right? You can't, you have, there's got to be a balance. And so as I've gotten older, I've realized that I've got to get to the other side quicker, or I may miss out on a huge opportunity or a huge partnership or a huge relationship that I could have built and I didn't because I stayed too long on this side of protected, right? So,
So I'm going to read another one of your comments here now as well. So you said, as a black woman in leadership, it's common to hear that we should tone it down to make others feel comfortable. But one thing I'm always going to do is encourage you to never dim your light and lead with authenticity and confidence always. I mean, I love that. If I could have that on a poster, Renee, and have that in my house, I absolutely would. Tell me, tell me what that comment means to
oh,
you.
thank you. Um, so they talk a lot about code switching in the Black community, how when you know, eh, you're in one space, you have to be this way, you're in another space, you have to be this way. And I've heard people on both sides say, I do it and I don't do it. I do it. And the reason why is I joke sometimes they can't take all of the true Renee Roberts Turner. There's no way anyone in this work environment can take it. They can't take it. It's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot all packed into this. I'm 6'2" and 200 pounds of woman. They can't take it all. So I have to tone it down a little bit. However, what I've learned is that when I'm passionate about something, when I believe something, when I have something to add in terms of adding value to the conversation, you're going to get it how you get it. And that's the best I can do. I try to be very intentional about what I add to conversations, about what I add to groups. And I want to make sure that whatever I'm adding is value added. So therefore, I'm careful about what and when I bring information to groups. Um, but I still am authentically myself. And so at one point in my career, I struggled with that because I was like, why can't I bring it all? Why can't I do that? Well, when you do that, people are not going to hear it, so you've got to figure out what part for, again, and this is me, everyone is different in how they address this, but you have to figure out, what parts of you can you bring in this particular situation. If you're in a boardroom with board members, your delivery should be different than if you're in a room of your peers versus you're in a room with your team. And so knowing where you are and how you need to show up is critical. It's critical. So I think the biggest message is, regardless of where I am and who is in the room, I will always bring the authentic Renee Roberts-Turner. It just might be a different level of the Renee Roberts-Turner. So, yeah.
Wow. In terms of that, sounds a bit like a journey to me, that you didn't figure that out overnight. That did you have to learn the hard way as well going through that?
Yeah. So what's funny is that I remember saying to my mom, like, I know I'm in these meetings and I know I'm rolling my eyes and I know I have an attitude and I know because I don't like what they're saying. I don't agree with what they're saying. Um, and I said, but mommy, no one's saying anything to me. And she's like, oh, they will when it matters. She said, when it matters and when it becomes an issue, they'll say something. And I said, but I don't want to wait for that. She said, well, then change it. She was like, well, why would you wait for them to say it? And so I started at that very moment, I began to start to be more aware. I had peers that would like try to check me. And I still do it. I know I'm in meetings sometimes and I'm irritated or whatever, but I'm more aware of it. And then I would say probably 2 years later, I started to get feedback from my leader about it. And so I was grateful that I had started to think more about it and to be a little bit more aware. And then I had to be intentional because now it's been brought to my attention. So I think you don't always get the feedback, but if you are aware that that's something you're doing, just try your best to try to address it if you want to stay in that space, right? I mean, it's a decision. You can only get so far if you're not willing to change. And so, especially in leadership, if you're not willing to shift into, and it's not necessarily assimilate, but if you're not willing um, to change, to be heard, to change, to be seen, then in a way that you want to be seen, then you may not get as far as you want to go.
Does that take its toll on you, or is it tiring to have to take that beat and really think with intention every time you perhaps open your mouth?
No, I don't think so. I think because I think it's just part of who I am now. I think I am very careful about, mm, I think a lot about a lot of different things before I say things. And so I think knowing it, I don't think that's what stresses me out in the day. Um, the draining piece sometimes is dealing with some hard conversations or difficult conversations. I think I've been in this space long enough that I can kind of shift as I need to. Um, but I think that, yeah, that I don't. The more I reflect on that question, I don't think so. No, it's big. I think it's just become a part of who I am. But I tell you what, as soon as I drive out of here, I just turn on Renee and I'm back to who I am. Thank goodness. There's a time where I can be truly me. So I'm grateful for those times. Yeah.
What's your Renee song that you put in the car on the way home?
Oh, I have so many. Oh my gosh, I have so many. Anything from the 1990s, hard like rap, anything from the 90s. That's it. Missy Elliott, Biggie Smalls. Yes, yes, yes. I love old rap. That's me. Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
I need your playlist, Renee. So, if there are any young black women listening to this podcast now and almost at a crossroads thinking, I want to progress in my career in terms of leadership. I want to be someone that other people look up to as well. If you were their mentor, what would you be saying to them?
I would tell them to, first of all, um, think about what it is that they want. I mean, I think thinking about what you want to leave behind in your career is such a long way of thinking about things. But maybe it's what is it that you're interested in? And then what are the steps that you need to get there? I think a lot of times people may be scared to try something different or try something new. Um, and we'll just do what everybody else does. But I think thinking about what it is they are interested in doing and if there's a spark that is like a patient population they're interested in working with or a project that they're interested in doing in their area. And then reaching out to someone to help them maybe get that started is what I would say. I think until we try these different things or experience different things, we have no idea what it is we really want to do. And one of the biggest lessons learned that I've had over time is the experiences we have that don't work out or the leaders that we have that are such poor leaders, we learn way more from those experiences and those leaders than we do from when things work out perfectly. And so I'm not saying you stay in those spaces forever, but what I am saying is after you leave, you should be reflecting on what you've learned not to do, which you learn that you don't want to ever do, like in terms of a career, and or how to treat someone. You learn so much more from those experiences, and so don't look at it as a negative in terms of your career. Look at it as probably some of the best learning opportunities and experiences of your careers.
Do you recommend writing things down, Renee, so you can reflect, or do you just reflect in your head?
I don't journal. I used to a long time ago. I don't journal, and but I do think it's a good practice. I do. I think people that do journal, and again, it's another way for you to reflect on experiences and to look back in terms of your growth. I think that's the biggest piece too, to see, oh my gosh, 6 years ago or 4 years ago, this is what I was thinking, and now look where I am, or this is what I thought then, and look where I am now. Um, Sometimes I don't think people around us give us as much credit as they should in terms of how we are growing, and they may see it but may not say anything. So when you do journal, you're able to see that growth for yourself, and so that is a good practice that I don't do.
And I think that it's difficult in the sense that if you make things look easy, people think it's easy. They don't see the hard work that's gone behind things, do they?
True. No, they don't, and nothing happens easily ever. Yeah.
Mm. So tell me about the diamond model now then. So I'm gonna give the floor to you and kind of bring in your mentor into this conversation as well. And we're going to share your Instagram with people at the end of this podcast as well. But they will see that you are a woman of many, many talents.
Yeah, so the diamond model is it's a book and there's a workbook also associated with it. The framework itself is a model that can be used for you to advance your professional excellence. And so I'm going to speak specifically about the profession of nursing. There's a lot of conversation about nursing excellence. And as someone in this space, I started to see as I was working with different individuals, there's not really a framework for me as an individual, me as a healthcare professional, whoever, a framework for me to be thinking about on a day-to-day basis about how to advance myself professionally so that I can then contribute to the overall global professional excellence. So it's first you must start with yourself so that you have something to contribute to nursing excellence. And so the diamond model was created, and there's seven components. It's personal excellence, which is really about, again, what we talked about earlier, making sure we're taking care of ourselves personally, that we have good mental health and that we're taking care of ourselves physically, um, and things like that, and also our family as well. And then there's leadership, which is again one of the key components of anything we do. And I think it's important for everyone to know that you lead where you stand. You don't have to have an official title to be a leader. You really do lead where you stand, and there's an opportunity for you to help others in whatever role you're in, and to lead others. Also, evidence and practice. So knowing that everything that we do in our practice should be driven by the evidence. Quality outcomes as well. Another component of the diamond model is mentors. And so, to your point, mentors are huge in terms of how you advance and how you grow. But just as important is that we mentor others. And so it's important that as you get a mentor, you also identify someone else to mentor. It's amazing what you get from those relationships. I feel like I get way more sometimes from my mentees than I do from my mentors sometimes. You learn so much by by having those relationships. In addition, there is, oh, I knew you were going to put me on the spot with these. So it's seven. I'm only done three. All right. So I didn't talk about, so I'm just going to list them: professional excellence, leadership, mentors, relationships and networking. And that's one that I struggle with a lot, is relationships and networking. But it's really important that we're establishing relationships, and that we are really networking within our profession, outside our profession. I will say that I've some of the best and opportunities and experiences have come through me networking with others. Actually, I think that's how we met. Is I met someone at another hospital, and then he introduced us. So it's amazing what can happen when you network with others and have conversations intentionally. And then education and development. And so, it's not necessary that you go back to school and get all these degrees, but it is important that you're keeping up to date in terms of what's happening within whatever profession you're in, and keeping up with best practice. And so the diamond model, again, is seven components: personal excellence, leadership, mentors, networking and relationships, education and development, evidence and practice, and goals and outcomes. So collectively, if you come up with a plan for each one of those, identify some things within each one of those categories, and constantly revisit those on a regular basis, whether it's once a week, whether it's once a month. Then you're intentionally moving towards creating your own personal and professional excellence. And so that's kind of the gist of that, collectively, that framework. And again, there's a book and there's a workbook that have been created to help you work through that. So that's a little bit about the model.
Amazing. My mind is just going a million miles an hour now because I'm just thinking, number one, why isn't everyone implementing this in every hospital across the world? Number two, how useful it would be for any industry, not just within healthcare as well. Because I think what we tend to do is we tend to be really good at one of them, forget the others, realize we're really good at this one, move on, forget about this one. It's so very difficult to do everything at the same time, isn't it? But I think what you're saying is, when you're doing it with intention and when you're following the model, that it will end up being so much more powerful.
Right, right. And I think taking the time to develop whatever that is, it takes time. Like, you don't, all of those things we just talked about and within the model, the framework itself, they evolve over time, and you have to sit down and really think about it. I mean, I even talk a little bit about your brand. What is it that you want to be known for? How do you want to show up? I say I'm Renee Roberts-Turner. That is my brand. That is who I am. But it took me some time to think about, who is Renee Roberts-Turner? What is that brand? And how do I want to show up professionally? And we should be intentional about that. No matter, to your point, no matter what career line you're in, you should be intentional about how you show up and what is it that you want to portray to the world professionally. Again, the time that you take to think about that, then you start to create it, then you start to live it, and then that's just what it is. And so being intentional about that is really important.
And how do you go ahead and have the confidence then to move that ahead and say, no, this is how I want to be seen, this is me, without kind of building a brand and building a strong, let's say, public presence? How do you do it even when you just walk into a room? Do you embody 3 words that embody how you want other people to see you, or how do you do it?
Oh wow. So I don't I just for me, lately I've been saying like you're that girl. And so or I'm that girl. Like so I walk in I always have been um so again, I'm 6'2". When I walk in a room, I know everyone is already, I mean, it's clear that they're gonna, you see this person. And so I've always felt either I can come in slumped or I can come in straight. And so I think that's just how I've been in my entire life because I'd rather I'm not going to make myself smaller to make you feel good. Right. And so I think just because of that's who I am, my stature, it just is what it is. And now it's just become a part of who I am. I think that if you don't have that confidence, remind yourself of who you are, remind yourself of who you want to be. And it is true. Once again, like I said earlier, you say it, you believe it, it happens. Because my mom used to say all the time, like, if you don't believe it, no one else is. If you don't love yourself, no one else will, right? And that's really true. If you don't have the confidence in yourself, if you don't believe that you can make this happen or you can do this, no one else is going to do it. They're not going to give you the support you need. They're not going to have your back. Um, and so you must believe in yourself. I think that that's where it's got to start. And that's why I spend a lot of time self reflecting. I spend a lot of time with myself and sometimes again, I'm not saying I'm always like, you're the best, you're great. I have those days too where I'm like, dang on it. I don't feel like it. I'm tired or I'm not good or I'm going to fail or and then I have to quickly move to, we don't have time for that. We don't have time for that.
So it's the moving on and the speed that you move on at after reflecting on that's important as well.
It's very important. It's very important. I talked a lot to my mentor about this because, like I said earlier, I start from a negative place. And she and I have talked over time, like the importance of the speed too. Depending on what it is, depending on the insult, if it's something negative that happened, it can take me a couple days, you know what I mean, to get to a place where I can now be. But one strategy I've learned over time is there's all kind of situations that can happen. But when you realize that you do have some control, it can give you power. And so a lot of times I'll say, okay, this happened, but what am I going to do about it? My kid will come to me and say, such and such. I'm like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? Because I want them to know that they're empowered. They have the power. And, all these things happen, but this might be the one thing that I have some power over that I can change. And so a lot of times is enough for you to move on. And so, well, for me anyway. So I've just found that no matter what happens, if I can find one part that I can control, I'm able to move on. And then it's amazing what happens after that. It's amazing.
Mm. Because I feel like if we continue to blame others or try and, to see who else can I blame for this, or without, thinking about the situation yourself. So I've been doing a lot of work with people recently about, your happiness is in your hands. Once you give that happiness away to someone, you get a call from someone, they annoy you. You've put their happiness in their hands, Someone shouts at you in the streets. You've put your happiness in their hands. The same can be said for confidence and everything, can't it? It is in your hands. So let's move on to something that I think we're definitely aligned on as well. Many things that we are. Fashion. So tell me about this amazing new brand that you have just launched, as if you didn't have enough going on.
It's so funny. I keep saying to myself, was this a mistake? I was saying it to my son the other day, and he was like, no, mommy, you like thought about it and you're doing it. That's so cool. And I was like, my 14-year-old thinks I'm cool. I got to keep this going. So, last summer I met a tailor like last February, like in 2023. And I had approached him about making me a three-piece suit. So I saw my husband with these suits on. He's always got a vest on and a jacket. And his jackets had all these like cool things like pockets on the inside and cool lining. And all the stuff I had was like real basic, like a black jacket with a black lining, no pockets. So I approached this tailor about making a custom suit, and he and I met with him, and we talked for almost 2 hours. And he explained so many things to me about the insides of the suits and how the suits were made, and I was like in awe. And so he and I went back and forth with this suit that he made for me. And when I picked the suit up, we again every time we met, we would talk for like hours. I was getting ready to go on vacation. I went on vacation. I met this lady. We're in the pool and we're talking. I was like, I think I want to start a woman's suit line. I was like, because I'm 6'2". I have such a hard time trying to find suits that are long enough, that fit right. I have all these like curves sometimes. My stomach is bloated sometimes. Sometimes it's not. My pants don't fit right. My zipper's busting. And so she was like, "You should do it." I have a friend that works at one of these big retails, and there clearly are not enough really nice women's suits. And so we kind of talked through that. And so when I came back to the States, I introduced the idea to my partner, Mr. Q, and we created Turner and Spencer. And so Turner and Spencer is a luxury suit line for women sizes 0 to 26. We have a ready-made line, which is sizes 14 to 24. And that allows you to, if you fit it within our criteria for size and height, you can purchase a suit in any of our fabrics from our website. But if you are taller than normal, or shorter than normal, or don't fit within our size ranges, we have an opportunity for made to measure. And so our goal is to take all of his 50 years of my partner, Mr. Q, has 50 years of experience as a tailor, take all of that and then take my love for a well-fitting suit. And we've combined it into this made to measure process. And so we launched about a month ago. And we're really excited about what this is going to mean and trying to change really how women dress and show up. And again, I think I have on a suit today that's not a Turner and Spencer suit, but I was looking at it and I'm like, it's been to the cleaners a couple of times and it's like all creased up. And we really want to make pieces that last a lifetime. We have very high quality fabric. He's put all his expertise in terms of making sure that the lining will lay right on your suits. And so we really want to make sure that we are creating suits that are made for women, not that women have to fit into, but they're made to fit you. So, yeah.
Amazing, absolutely. And if people listening want to go and have a look at some of the pieces, they can look at your Instagram, which will be linked below as well. What stands out to me, even with this new brand that you've created, Renee, it's that confidence again plays such a big part in it. And, for me in my career, back in my styling days when I used to work with people closely, that feeling of making someone feel more confident about themselves when you could visually see it when you're putting on a garment on someone, they change the way they stand, they change the way they move, they become a different person. I think that confidence is so powerful, isn't it? And is that what drove you as well to kind of, push this ahead?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My husband and I would talk a lot about, like, he was like, I was in a meeting with this guy and he was fidgeting the whole time. His suit didn't fit right. He wasn't ready for the meeting, but I was ready. I put on my power suit. They talk about the power suit. And I actually love suits because as an executive, I could put on a pair of pants and a jacket. And if it looks right, I don't have to do anything else. I put on a necklace and some shoes and you're done. Like, so it's easy when you can just put on a suit that fits well. And I think when you walk in a room and you know that everything is, it's not too tight, it's not too whatever, and it does give you this sense of confidence. It gives you this sense of I can do it. It does matter what you wear. It really does. from what other people see. And then also to your point around your own confidence, it really does matter. Again, this is one of those soft things that I love that we don't spend enough time with, and not everybody understands. But I do think that if we can bring someone something that they feel confident in, imagine a presentation that in a suit that is kind of, it's all right, versus a suit that you did that in, right? Like imagine the presentation itself. So that's a lot of what we thought about as we were building Turner and Spencer, is that we wanted to create and give our people something to wear that can, again, boost their confidence.
And I think what's interesting is that you said before that, you kind of walk into a room and you want to tell the world a story. But what we wear does that as well, doesn't it? So it all kind of flows into each other so well. So you put on an outfit in the morning and I want to look like a leader today. I want to look confident. I might even want to look sexy in some situations. But what you wear and when you marry all of that together can be so incredibly powerful, can't it?
Yeah, it's really important. All of that's important. Yeah. I think, one of the biggest things I would say as a takeaway is it's all connected, right? When you think about professionalism, when you think about leading, when you think about confidence, which are all of that stuff, and if we don't think about it as some connected piece, it's all connected in how we show up as an individual. And so I think that's, I feel like that's what I'm learning from this conversation with us today, because I have a takeaway too. I think it's all connected. And if we can be more intentional with the connectedness, then we are really defining who we are.
And is it that self investment as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. You must. You have to. And I think first of all, being kind with yourself, being patient with yourself, giving yourself grace. Okay, put that to the side. And then also pushing yourself, right? Believing in yourself and having that confidence. So I think it's a combination of all of those things together, and intentionally growing yourself. It's very important. And again, I haven't even gotten into spirituality, but I think that's another whole layer of this space here as well. Whatever that is for you. Yeah.
I almost don't want to ask my last question because I don't want to put too much pressure on you. But what is next for Renee?
Oh Lord. I think what's next for me is defining who I truly am and where I want to go professionally, defining it and finding it at the same time. I think that that's kind of where I am professionally, deciding what that is, and then continuing to grow the seeds that I've planted already. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not planting any more seeds. No more seed. We're not planting anything else. We're just gonna grow. Yes, let's let
Just
them grow.
watching those
Yeah.
seeds grow,
Yeah.
yeah? Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been such an interesting coaching conversation. Renee's details, her website, her Instagram, link to the Diamond book will be below as well. So if you want to get in touch with her, please do so. And definitely check out her new suits as well, because I think I'm going to have to put an order in, Renee, for one of those because they're absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. This has been Coaching Conversations. I'm Ellen Mai. Please like, subscribe, and share as well. Thank you.